All right, I'm assuming that means we're being recorded.
Yeah.
Hmm? Oh, I think it's upstairs with the cats. Yeah, sorry. All right, so let's start with the first topic, which is the ESPN's top 74 all-time NBA players list just came out. We'll start from the top. I'll pull it up if you guys want to go over it. But basically, the first one I wanted to talk about was number 72 ranked Dame versus 70 ranked Tony Parker. There's a couple of others on there as well that are point guards that we can get into, but if it comes up, we can transition over to it. But let's just focus on individual pairings that they put close to each other. Do you, Noah, rank Dame ahead of Tony Parker or behind as it is on the current list?
Yeah, I mean, I love these conversations in terms of just like all-time rankings and whatnot. I mean, one thing I think that, so I looked at the list. I think it was like they haven't done so they did release the top 10, huh? Because yesterday,
Yes.
okay, because as of yesterday, they had just done like 70 or whatever, like 100 to like 11 or whatever. I'm not even fucking.
I think it was like 5 o'clock yesterday. They released the top 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't, because I looked at it yesterday and they didn't have the top 10. I was looking at this last night.
This is when I put it together. I put this together like around 7 o'clock last night.
The fuck? I was looking at it last night and they didn't show. They just showed me up to 11. Whatever. Regardless.
Yeah.
I mean, one like immediate question that comes to me, and this wasn't even like a Tony Parker or Dame question. I think I was looking at I think Giannis is ranked ahead of Isaiah Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
And my immediate reaction was so we're saying does that mean today? Right now?
Yeah, I'm assuming
stops.
Yeah, I'm assuming if everything stopped today, who's the better NBA player?
So then I just don't agree with a lot of the selections on the list.
Yeah, and that's what we're going to go through. We're going to start at the top and work our way down. Because that's what I have here on the list. I do mention I didn't think of Giannis, honestly, because I do feel that you know what? I was thinking the same thing, I guess. I was thinking over time he might earn that spot. But I guess if we do look at it as today, I think he was 30, 35 or something like that?
I'm looking at it right now. Giannis is 27.
27.
AI is 29. Nash is 30. Isaiah Thomas is 31. So Steve Nash has had a better career than Giannis to date. I think
is that the question, though? The better career or the better player?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. That's why it's that's why it's there's so many essences of Jordan versus LeBron in this debate, right?
Well, here's a way to pose the question, I guess, is if you were starting your franchise today,
who would you draft? Think that's it, man. I don't think that's it.
Well, no, because let me finish.
All right, I'll hear you out.
Yeah. Who would you take? Would you take Nash's career or would you take Giannis right now? And I still think, yes, Nash has had the better career, or Jason Kidd, for that example, in my opinion, would have the better career, but I would still take Giannis.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's why this is such a fun and interesting, but also challenging conversation, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, another thing that and again, these are my guys. Curry's 13, Durant's 14.
We'll get there. All right,
I'm jumping the gun a little bit. All right.
So let's start at the top then, Noah. Who would you rather have? Would you rather have Dame, 72?
Yeah.
Or Tony Parker? Career-wise, for Tony Parker, right? And I guess Dame now.
But yeah, dude, I'm the worst person to have this conversation with because I just need to include all these pre-qualifications and
Well, go ahead. That's fine. That's why we have this conversation, right? Because then Jake might disagree with one of your variations, or I might
Yeah,
not
I mean, I
understand. You know
think
what I mean?
Damian Lillard is the more talented basketball player. I think it's undeniably Tony Parker is a bigger winner. I mean, Tony Parker has how many rings, right? He's more of like a quote unquote point guard from like all the like from all those measurements in terms of like pass first and like less shots per game and more of like a piece within a system rather than like the focal point. But I don't think that's it's fair to knock Dame for those reasons. If I'm it, let's go to your initial question, the way you're structuring it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if I'm drafting, who am I taking? I think I'm taking Lillard. I think he's a better basketball player. I do. I think he's a better scorer. I think he can do more for you overall. Um, I just hate comparing the careers because careers are so contextual, and we do that way too much in basketball. I think we don't do it in football and baseball because there's 25 guys in baseball and 53 guys in football, and in basketball there's 12 guys and only 8 or 9 who actually play. Um,
Right. So
but
you're saying like throw Dame on that Spurs team, and he might be top 30 right now.
um, I'm not sure if I'm going there, but I just I don't think it's fair to say, oh, Tony Parker won X amount of championships, thus he's automatically a better player. Or so yeah, to use the draft framework, I think I'll take Dame over Parker. And they're only 2 away, so that's not that big of a stretch. But
Right.
yeah, that's where I'm going with that.
Well, I would agree. I think Dame is a better player. And I think, Jake, you're going to agree with this. So I'm going to
Oh, I
pose you a
think Jake will agree
question.
as well.
I think so
It's a
too.
gut feeling.
But I'm going to pose you a question. Argue for Tony Parker over Damian Lillard. Like, what do you think ESPN was thinking when they put Tony Parker ahead of this list over Damian
I
Lillard?
know the answer.
Go ahead.
They're looking at his rings resume, bro. I mean, to me, I would of course take Damian Lillard. I would also make the argument Tony Parker, looking at his like he averaged something like 15 or 16 points a game, but he would clutch up in certain spots. But he was also like Noah said, he was in a beautiful system. He
Right.
had probably arguably the greatest power forward to play with too. I mean, if you pair that with like if Lillard had a chance to do that, I think Lillard would probably showcase a few rings on his fingers too. It's just Damian Lillard is a franchise player and he carries the burden of that. And I think Tony Parker never did. And Tony Parker, though, was an amazing point guard. He knew that's why Popovich loved him. Tony Parker orchestrated, he knew how to run the offense. He was the general. He was up and coming. He also had sixth man player of the year, Monte Ginobili. I think 2 times sixth man player of the year. Maybe it was 1, but that's a big piece too.
Who's the coach of the Blazers right now?
God,
What's his name?
I'm having a brain fart.
Terry
Stotts. That's right.
Terry Stotts. Okay. I'm a fan of his, and I'm not going to ever put him ahead of Coach Pop, obviously, but I think that you can say let's not even take that into consideration, like the coaching, and if we just solely look at the teams that they were on, right, and I think this is a fair critique, is to say, look, put Dame with Duncan, Robinson, who are the other cats on that squad that Parker was running with?
I mean,
Derek Anderson, right? Yeah, Ginobili. Like they're winning chips as well. I think ESPN got it wrong. I mean, if I just want to be frank, I get the argument. I'm guessing you're probably right. It is just comes down to a rings thing. Maybe a little bit of a homage to a respect of Tony Parker's career being over.
I mean, they had a
right?
dynasty. Shit, they had a
Yeah,
dynasty. So there's no
yeah, but there's no situation where I'm taking. There's no situation. Like I can't think of one where I'm
yeah,
taking Tony Parker over Damian Lillard.
yeah, and that's. I mean, they made their list, and a lot of it is to do, I believe,
So
things.
So ESPN says ESPN's NBA expert panel voted on thousands of head-to-head matchups, taking into consideration both total career value and peak performance. And then also, interestingly enough, it's 74 players, which is just like such a random figure, but whatever.
Yeah,
I love that they did this. I love the shit on ESPN, but thank you for doing something of this sort because God damn it, we all miss basketball. But
so the next matchup I want to go to is Alonzo Mourning at 63 versus Dennis Rodman at 62.
I think they got this way off.
You think they got this wrong too? Yeah, I think so too. Like, I wouldn't say way off. Like, I definitely love what Dennis Rodman has done in the league, especially when he came in as a rookie. And a lot of this that I know about him, honestly, is from that Last Dance doc. Like, I wasn't really too much
About
of a
Rodman?
Dennis Rodman fan. Yeah, yeah.
Oh wow.
Like, I don't know. I feel that Alonzo Mourning, same situation. Like, I'll take him over Rodman again in any situation.
I think again, Alonzo Mourning was just a much more key, the word, focal point, like Noah said, to his franchise. Dennis Rodman, though, is probably arguably one of the greatest centers of all time. I mean,
Yeah.
he was just insane. If you call him a center, I don't know, as a power forward center mix, but I'll say one great. I won't say center. I'll say probably one of the greatest rebounders of all
yeah,
time.
I think he's the best rebounder of all time.
Yeah,
But I think Alonzo Mourning is a better overall player.
me too. Yeah, 100%.
I mean, Rodman gets a ton of credit, I think, because he won a ton of championships. 'Cause I think he
Right.
won what 3 with the Bulls. No, he won 5 total, 2
Yeah,
with the Pistons and 3 with the
with the
Bulls.
Bulls and 2 with the Pistons.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then all like his off-court antics like made him a thing beyond basketball, and
I was
I
gonna say
think
the
in
same
many
thing.
ways that's like viewed as like cool and hip, and some people think it's like stupid and shitty and whatever. But
But it's gonna get you recognized.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
recognition.
He's
Like
Yeah.
He's very polarizing. You either hate him or you love him.
True. Yeah. I think this. I don't know if I would say it's too wrong. I might just swap them. See, the problem is with me. If it's pre-90s basketball, I'm not going to know too much about it. Like Earl Monroe, uh, Dave Cohen's like, I don't even know who that is.
What's crazy is about pre-90s, people don't realize, they say small forward, LeBron, probably the greatest ever, which I would agree, but Larry Bird, dude, how good that guy was with his finesse game in the
Yeah.
80s.
Yeah.
He might have been slower, but that dude was finesse, and he was good. Like Larry Bird was insane, and people and like even I've seen a lot of his old videos and stuff, but how finesse this guy was in a league which was pretty hardcore. Like he was just damn good, man. And he had that rivalry against Magic, dude, late '80s, early '90s,
Yeah.
basically the '80s, but it was
no, the entire 80s, yeah.
Yeah. The entire 80s.
pretty.
And in college, man, they faced off in the championship game.
Indiana versus Michigan State, right?
Indiana State,
Or
Michigan
Indiana
State.
State. Sorry.
Which is weird because Indiana State doesn't
Yeah.
What is that?
No.
So, here's one that I found very interesting, and okay. I would definitely put Vince Carter ahead of Paul Pierce. I get the argument though for Paul Pierce being ahead of him, but I don't know. Again, looking at their careers, we can say both are done. If there was a game on the line that I needed to win, I'm taking Vince Carter for the whole game. I might take Paul Pierce in the last 2 minutes of the game, but I'm taking Vince Carter to win the game. if that's what I need to do. What are your guys' thoughts on Vince Carter versus Paul Pierce?
I'm taking Paul Pierce.
The whole game from the beginning?
Yeah. I think Paul Pierce, he was – I mean, I just – as much as I hated Paul Pierce, dude, I still don't like the guy. I really hated the dude. I think he was just this – he whined and he flopped and he did all kinds of goofy stuff. But, I mean, even when before Ray Allen and Garnett got traded there or whatever, he was taking his teams that were pretty shitty and he was still taking them to the Eastern Conference, like semis, or like he took them to the playoffs a few times. I wouldn't say like to the conference finals and everything, but I love Vince Carter. The reason why I think everybody like loves Vince Carter around our age, maybe he was just a highlight reel, dude. He was a human highlight reel, and that was like Allen Iverson, right? But when it came down to like statistics and like clutch shots and stuff and winning a game and actual like put the game on his back, I thought Paul Pierce performed in that area. Where Vince Carter, I saw Vince Carter with the Raptors. I saw him choke a few games, like important ones. When he was with the Nets, I believe, younger in his career, I don't remember him performing. Like he was insane, like a regular season player, and like would just do some crazy stuff. But I mean, as far as like playoffs went, he never had that great of a playoff run, dude. Like,
yeah. The one that sticks out to me playoff wise is always going to be that series he had against the Sixers. Right, it came down to Game 7, and Iverson just took over.
Right. Yeah. Was that when he was on the Nets? Or no?
No, he was on the Raptors.
Oh, it was the Raptors. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, man.
What do you think, Noah?
I don't have a strong inclination either way between Pierce and Carter. I think Carter is probably, I think maybe indisputably just the better athlete overall.
Yeah.
But kind of in a similar vein to like Dame versus Tony Parker. I kind of feel like Pierce gets an upper hand here. One, because he did win a championship, and I also feel like maybe he played like a little bit more of like a quote unquote like winning style of basketball, even though the Celtics were really shitty for a lot of his career. So that might not be true. But did Vince win one?
No. That's why I wanted him. That's actually why I was really pushing for the Warriors to go after him that last year we had Kevin Durant.
I mean,
last year basically.
Wait, is he gonna retire? Did he say that?
Yeah, he's done. This was his last year. Yeah.
Well, maybe it won't be because it ended in such a fucking weird way. But
here's my question: the year that Vince was on the Nets, did they play in the finals?
Yeah, they lost to the Lakers, didn't they?
No, I don't think he was on that team, man. I don't think
he was on that team.
No,
I don't remember because they like swept him all the time.
There, I'll look at it right now. I'm very.
Vince Carter was on the Suns.
Dude, Vince.
I don't remember him on the Suns, man. I remember him as a Raptor and a Net.
Well, it's all here. So he was on the Raptors from 98 to 2004, 04 to 09 the Nets, 9 to 10 the Magic, and then he was on the Suns from 10 to 11. Right. And then he just went on every single team.
Yeah,
the Mavericks, the Grizzlies, the Kings.
Those years that he was a Raptor and a Net, dude, like he was a human highlight reel. Don't get me wrong. The dude he was one of my favorite players because he played at North Carolina with Antoine Jameson. Antoine Jameson was the big.
What did the Raptors get for him?
I don't even remember.
Dude, didn't the Warriors draft him? We fucked that up.
That was
I'm pretty sure he was drafted by the Dubs.
And then traded.
Yeah.
I think
you're right. No, you're right. We did. We traded him for Antoine Jameson. Yeah, that's right.
I actually think Antoine was better than people give him credit for, but still, I mean, Vince Carter was probably better pro overall.
I just remember watching.
He was not on that team, by the way. The Nets team that lost to the Lakers. He was not on the team.
Yeah, that was like Jason Kidd and.
This is interesting. So I guess
on Martin.
Kenyon
Yeah.
Martin. That's right.
Richard Jefferson when he was good.
Richard Jefferson.
So Carter went to the Nets for Alonzo Mourning, Aaron Williams, Eric Williams, and 2 first-round draft picks. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
The Nets gave up hella.
Yeah. Pretty crazy. That's why they're the Nets.
The Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, they made it to back when they did New Jersey Nets, not the Brooklyn Nets, of course. But
Right. All right. So let's move on. So here's one I just want to bring up to have a conversation with. So if we look at these guys that are here, right? Gary Payton, Tracy McGrady, James Worthy, Wes Unseld, Reggie Miller. Like, these are all names that we know, right? Bill Walton, your guy, Jake.
right.
The Iceman, Dominique, and then Anthony Davis. Like, I get it. He's good, right? But does he deserve to be on the list?
No.
No. Okay. I guess all 3 of us agree. I was thinking maybe one of us was going to have a point to put him on here. But, yeah, I don't know.
But that's part of this list is like some of it is like projecting the future. That's how I'm reading it, at least, like with the Giannis stuff, at least, you know.
Well, if you're projecting the future, then
Yeah.
wouldn't you put Anthony Davis?
Look at Davis, 27, makes this list off the promise of what's to come. Not that his career average.
Oh, there you go. There you go. I mean, I should read it. Yeah.
He flourished in his first season with the Lakers, making a strong defensive player of the year case for the league's 3rd-ranked defense in terms of efficiency. It's all about what's to come with him.
I'm fine with that explanation. I don't think it. Again, there's a difference. I think there's a difference between like, let's rank the 74 greatest careers of all time versus like, who are the 74 best basketball players, right?
Oh, 100%.
Like, that's different.
Yeah.
And this is ranking the top 74 players of all time, not necessarily their career accomplishments.
If you were to ask me that question on like a season, maybe like a career year, like if they did that, like the top 30 best career season, whatever years, like you could put like John Stockton and Malone, those years they played Jordan. They went to the finals like 2 years in a row, and dude, Stockton and Malone, but Stockton, I believe, won the MVP the year that Jordan beat him and everything. But like some of those guys' years were just insane, man. Like, it's insane. Like Giannis had a crazy ass year, and that's why he's the MVP. And you've seen LeBron have 1 or 2, and Durant, and it's just James Harden, and so I don't know if that makes any sense. But
Yep.
No, I hear you. All right, so let's take a step back because I want to go back up to GP at 53. What can Russ do to get that 42 slot then? If, for me, you're putting Gary Payton way up here at 53, I would take GP's career over Russell Westbrook right now. Maybe I'm being a hater, but I mean, here's somebody that I don't even think deserves to be on the list. And I'm saying that with this guy averaging triple doubles for like 3 seasons in a row, right? So, dude, I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on Russell Westbrook versus Gary Payton, 10 slots apart?
I mean, that's just a testament to how the game has changed so much, dude. Like, I just think I will say this: Russell Westbrook is probably one of the more freak athletes I've ever seen in a sport. Like, he's a freak. He is a freak. But the problem is he's such a spaz that's come back to haunt him in certain times. But I would probably, take Russell Westbrook over
Gary Payton.
As much as I hate to say, he's my boy, dude. Oregon State and everything.
Oakland
Cat, all that.
Yeah,
but Russell Westbrook, dude, he's say what you want about him, but dude, he's had games where he could just flip a switch and totally take the whole game over if he was on. and just go nuts. I mean, he comes out of nowhere. He'll come out of nowhere of the camera and dunk over a dude. Like Gary Payton couldn't do that stuff. Gary Payton can hardly even dunk, and like Gary Payton rarely ever like was like that crazy crafty, not crafty, but just athletic freak, you know. Also, Gary Payton, the year he had a good running mate, dude, with Sean Kemp, the year that they went to the finals. That was pretty sick, as we saw in the Last Dance. But also, man, Russell Westbrook, say what you want, but he and Durant, this was my big hater on Durant is like that mix of those guys. Like the year that they fucked, like they lost to the Dub. They should have won it against the Heat. They were favorites against the Heat, but a few years later, whatever it was, where they blew the 3-2 lead. I mean, Jesus, it was both he and Durant, but I just never got over that, man. Like that duo was so nasty, and James Harden, dude. Like it was just crazy, and
Yeah, I don't know why Oklahoma City got them apart. I just when I think of Gary Payton, I don't think of this guy is going to lose me a game. Russell Westbrook to me, when I think of him, I'm like, oh yeah, he might win me a regular season game, but is he in the clutch going to win me game 7? I don't think so. And now you put two of those guys together on the same team.
yeah, that's true.
What do you think, Noah?
Dude, so I'm a rare Warrior fan that is a big Russell Westbrook supporter. I know there's like 3 of us on the entire planet, but I think he takes way too much shit, and I think that I think his career is largely misunderstood. I think the perceived beef between him and Durant was actually not really off the court beef at all. Again, prior to Durant signing with the Warriors, I think there was a lot of media hype about they don't like each other, they don't fit, blah, blah, blah. I think there's some argument to back that they weren't great counterparts, or they weren't great partners on the court together. But at the same time, they won a fuck ton of games together. They made the finals together when Harden was still on that squad. Mm-hmm. To Jake's point, and I'm a Warriors fan, they should have won that series in 2016. I mean, they were killing us over the first 4 games. And then Clay and Steph got hot, and we kind of just we figured it out. And they also, I'm a Barkley fan in terms of a player, not as a commentator, but he's right. As soon as Westbrook and Durant turned to hero ball, as he coined it, in that series, they started it turned on them. And I don't think that's necessarily that is a criticism of them. I wouldn't put that blame on Westbrook above Durant. I think they're both equally to blame. If you look at that game, if you watch the last 7 minutes of that game, Durant actually has some really crucial turnovers, and so does Westbrook, but they're equally crucial.
Yeah,
it's not one greater than the other. So for me, this is weird because again, I'm Warriors first and foremost, but I think Westbrook is, I think he's a great player. I think a lot of he's forcing his shot. He takes way too many jumpers. He's inefficient. I think a lot of that's out of need for the team. I think the OKC rosters when he was there were pretty interesting. They were devoid of a ton of offensive talent outside of Durant. And when Durant left, they were even more devoid of that. So I think he needed to overshoot, and there's a lot of criticism that comes along with that because it's not sexy and the analytics hates it and all of that. But I also love that he just doesn't give a shit about what, Stephen A or Barkley or whoever or us, what we say. He just wants to win. I really feel that way. I think he's really a win first kind of guy. But I'm, I don't know. Comparing him to Peyton's hard for me. It's weird for me. I'm a diehard Warrior fan. I'm a big Russell Westbrook fan, and I'm a big Kevin Durant fan. So kind of all over the place with that.
I guess I'll stand alone on this. I mean, I would take GP over Russell Westbrook any day.
I
especially if we're
think Gary
talking.
Payton's the better defensive player, no question there.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I think that comes into play for me. Like again, when you win the game, you don't always have the ball in your hand. I mean, you got to play defense sometimes, and if that's the case, then yeah, I'm taking Gary Payton. I don't know, especially if we're going to talk like prime versus prime. Like Gary Payton is prime, man. Like besides, the Rain Man, who else was on that team?
He had Detlef Schrempf.
Uh-huh.
He was a pretty good ball player.
And who were the good teams at the time? On the West Coast, like Denver was pretty solid, right? Your team was solid,
Blazers,
right? Blazers, yeah. So
Jazz were great, man.
yeah, Jazz, so they got through some good
Lakers were
teams,
good.
man, and I just don't know. What's Russell Westbrook's best victory in a series against the aged Spurs, basically, right?
The year they went to the finals, right?
Yeah. Like who was the best team they beat that year? Was the Spurs, right?
Which year? The year they made the finals?
Yeah, the year they lost to the Heat.
Dude, I mean, I don't know. I don't think. I think you got to give him credit for that because the Spurs then went to the finals in 13 and 14, lost to the Heat in 13 when they should have won, and then beat the shit out of the Heat in 14, even though they're older. So
they were older, but they did have.
Yeah, that's true.
They did have another player up and coming. Let's not forget that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but he was wasn't Kawhi on that 12 team too?
Kawhi was.
I don't know.
He wasn't on.
Question. Let's see. This would be the 2012 Spurs, right? 2011.
He was playing ball at San Diego State then.
Might be right.
He entered the league right around them. I'm not sure. I think he was on that team.
Maybe. I don't remember.
James Anderson, DeJuan Blair, Matt Bonner, Derek Byers, Eric Dawson, Boris Diaw, Tim Duncan, TJ Ford, Manu Ginobili, Danny Green, Steven Jackson. Yep, there he is, Kawhi Leonard.
Where? How many games did he play? What else?
See his stats. Tony Parker, Patty Mills. How old is Patty Mills?
See, Patty Mills is amazing. I like that. Patty Mills is epic, man. That guy's such a good back. Dude, Portland had
it was his rookie year. 11-12 was his rookie year.
Okay.
So he played 64 games, started 39 of them. So I'm assuming that's towards the end. So yeah, I guess he was a starter by the time the playoffs came around.
One quick comment on the Westbrook thing, and not even just comparing him to Peyton, but I think one of the, and again, this is weird for me to say because I'm a big Warrior fan, but one of the kind of most fun kind of aspects of this 1920 season before the world got set on fire was that I feel like for the first time in a while there was really no clear-cut favorite, right? The Warriors obviously have injury problems. The reigning champion Raptors lost their best player, and yeah, they're really good, but they're not a presumed favorite. Lakers, Bucks, they're contenders. It's great, but nobody's a sure thing, or nobody's you're not really writing anyone into place. And that to me that means the field was more wide open. I thought and I don't like the Rockets, obviously. I thought watching the Rockets once they moved Capella and opened the floor for Westbrook and Harden, and Westbrook really got way better from all stats, and the Rockets record also got way better. It was really fun to watch. I mean, he's just fucking attacking the rim relentlessly, taking less shitty jump shots off the bounce. It was super fun to watch. Again, I don't want them to win, but I think that
we'll get into talking more about them because we'll talk about the playoff teams that are left. If they started it today, how do we think it would kind of square away? So moving down the list, let's just head out to the second half of it and jump to number 32, James Harden. Maybe it's just me being a hater again, but again, you can put up 50 points a game, 60 points a game, but are you going to win it for me in the clutch? And I don't know. Is Harden that guy? What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Well, to me, again, this list is they don't want it to make it all about championships, obviously. So this is kind of a mix to me of like this dude's won some championships, and then you got this guy over here who James Harden could arguably be one of the greatest regular season players that I've ever seen in my life. Like the guy is just insane offensively. Um,
Yeah, you can say the same thing for Westbrook too, I guess, at that point.
I mean, there's a lot of players like that though, but then I'll go back and be like, I wouldn't take James Harden I wouldn't take him to save my life, dude, in a playoff game. I think he's the biggest choke artist I've seen for a long time. I don't know even know like who's another big one. I thought that's another thing is I hated to say like that was my big knock on Vince Carter back in the day. I thought he used to choke games. Um, God, who else? But like James Harden, dude, after watching the Heat when they were young, I know he was young, but even coming off this bench, dude, he was a ghost, dude. He was a non-factor in that series.
Yeah.
It was Russell Westbrook, and of course you had Durant, but Russell Westbrook, dude, just going ape shit in that series, man. He dropped like 35 and 39, I think, in a few games that they lost. Like Jesus. And James Harden was nowhere to be found. And so I would say again, this list, if it had to do with overall like in the clutch winning game, like winning titles and like the ultimate goal is when you're a pro, right? You want to win titles. Like James Harden, like would not be on this list, but if this list entails some of the greatest regular season players, who can just drop 50, win you 20 games in a row or whatever they hit, like on a winning streak, 14 here, 15 here, like then you got to throw them in there. But I'm not a huge I think James Harden is the biggest choke artist I've seen in a long time.
So let's go up from 40 to 32. Who's Harden ahead of? John Havlicek, George Mikan, Jason Kidd, Kevin McHale, Patrick Ewing, Bob Pettit, Walt Frazier, and Chris Paul. I wouldn't even put him ahead of Chris Paul, to be
I
honest
would
with you.
I personally wouldn't put it like against like Patrick Ewing, dude. Patrick Ewing was fucking phenomenal. Like that guy was a great player. And unfortunately, he always ran into fucking Michael Jordan, dude. Like
Yeah, that's
those
true.
Knicks squads were so good. They were so good back then.
I
But
wouldn't put him ahead of. I mean, I don't know.
I don't
Again,
know much about some of these other like old dudes.
yeah. I mean, I'm not going to speak on Havlicek, George Mikan, but I mean, I'm taking Kid. Like when Kid got his shot, right? When he was in where was he? Dallas, wasn't he? Like where he was hitting his threes or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Like I'll take Jason Kidd. I'll take Patrick Ewing. I'll take Walt Frazier. I'll take Chris Paul ahead of James Harden any day. I don't know. What do you think, Noah?
I just think the game has changed a lot in that way. I mean, so much about it is like there's just so much like math influence now, right? Um, I think Harden's weird. I don't know. I think he's a tremendous, maybe one of the best scorers of all time. I don't even think that's maybe a maybe. I think he is one of the best scorers of all time. But I also think there's like something to be said about this kind of like intangible like winning brand, right? And I think that's something that like Harden and Westbrook have kind of like struggled with, like kind of their whole careers, right? Like,
Why? Why do you think that's the case?
what do I think? What?
Like, why do you think they've struggled with this winning brand, as you put it?
Because I think that to so many people, winning brand of basketball is more of a team oriented, kind of share the ball mentality. And for Harden and Westbrook and others involved as well, so much of their burden is needing to score because they don't have a team that can really back them in that specific kind of area, um, which makes them teaming up this season super fucking fascinating, if you ask me. But I don't know. Harden's interesting, man. He's like definitely one of the best scorers of all time. He's kind of a no-show on defense, but he's like he's good at like post defense. He's a good handler, and I would say like I think he's a pretty good passer, but doesn't really look to pass. But I think I think I heard this on the Bill Simmons podcast like today. Like if the story of Harden's career is like, yeah, he had 50, but like the Rockets lost by 10. To me, that's not like that all that impressive.
Yeah.
Like I just think there's something to be said about sacrificing like individual accolades in order to further the team. And I think he and Westbrook and others are still trying to like figure that out. And I think Westbrook is farther along than he is in figuring that out. But
well, they're on the same team, so they got to figure it out together at this
yeah,
point.
but they're on the same team for the first time this year. Well, actually, that's not true. They played together in OKC, but with Durant
That's right, yeah.
under different circumstances.
Yeah. Do you? So because of that,
like I guess what I'm saying is that like to me, superstars can win games and help their team win in like more than one way.
and do you think Harden and Westbrook, or maybe just Harden, don't possess that ability?
I think Westbrook absolutely does. He rebounds like crazy. He's a good passer. He can play defense when he wants to. He doesn't always decide to, but he can. Harden to me is like not one-dimensional, but like he's not a great off the ball player. He's just not. And he doesn't bring a ton on defense. Like, yeah, steals here and there, rebounds, maybe a block shot now and then, but you know, what's the other angle other than just being a fucking lethal scorer, right?
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with what you say. When I think of Harden, I just think of a pure scorer. Wouldn't take like a massive charge to really change the game, or wouldn't dive for the ball. I think he's too much of a priss. I really do. Westbrook though, I've seen Westbrook do some crazy shit. Like he's taken some charges. He's done some crazy blocks.
No,
He's
I
gotten
agree with
some
that.
bad rebounds. Like,
Dude, Westbrook's always on the ground. Like he's always like
Westbrook's a killer, dude. I know. That's the thing. He's a killer, but he can spaz out a lot. But like, I respect Westbrook way more.
Westbrook's got a little Draymond like this intensity that he
Yeah.
can't like keep a lid on, which I think because he's not on the Warriors and has like other like leadership like that, he gets a ton of shit for. But I don't think it's necessarily fair. I mean, it's to me, it's the same fire that we all like kind of revere MJ for, right? MJ wasn't necessarily like as kind of like over the top about it, but it's that same like burning passion.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
And of
Well,
course,
also like somebody like MJ, you're gonna get. He's gonna fire up the team, right? Westbrook might just fire up himself.
That's true. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
Yeah, I agree, guys. I don't think even on potential, like, do we put Harden here at 32? I mean,
I don't.
Is he off the list for you, Jake, or is he still? He's not off the list. Okay,
but he's not in the top 32 players of all time.
I think he's in the 40s for me, maybe 40s or 50s.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that would be okay. I'd be okay with that. Yeah, number 32 for me was very, very high. All right, so here's an interesting one. They don't really play similar positions, but I just thought it was interesting to maybe bring them up since they're more modern time. Kawhi at 25 and Barkley at 23. I wasn't thinking potential here, because I guess potential I would bring Kawhi up maybe ahead of Barkley. But what are your guys' thoughts on just those two positions, Kawhi at 25 and Barkley at 23?
I think Barkley deserves to be ahead of Kawhi. Barkley was the MVP like 2 years in a row or 1 year when they took
1 year, yeah.
Barkley was also 6'4", 6'5", getting 20, 22 rebounds some games, dude. And he was scoring. I mean, he played almost the full game, dude. Like he was nuts. I loved Barkley. He was 6'4", it's like guarding monsters. And I don't know, he to me at times reminded me of like Dennis Rodman, except he could score and he could play like he could just score, dude. He was insane. I remember Barkley a lot playing back in when I was like 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. I was a big Barkley fan. But
So are
I
we
think
okay
yeah,
with Kawhi at
I don't
25 then, or
I'm not,
should he be higher?
I think he should be higher personally.
What do you think,
Kawhi
Noah?
Leonard is arguably the best player in the league right now, in my opinion. But
What is the comparison? Barkley versus Leonard.
Yeah, I was just trying to think of two players that were close to each other that maybe we could try to compare if it's placed right. But I guess the argument or the discussion actually more just becomes, is Kawhi good at 25 or should he be ranked higher?
I personally believe
Higher meaning lower or
Yeah, like a lower number, I guess.
he should be ranked higher. Like I think Kawhi is probably top 15 to 18 in my opinion. Kawhi Leonard,
damn, that's
fucking,
pretty high.
I'm just telling you, like from what he's done to what he's expected to do, I think Kawhi Leonard
Yeah.
will have a pretty big career in the
I think
NBA.
there's a lot of I think there's a
Well,
good amount of like future
Yeah,
like to me again, this is back to what we're saying. Better player or better career. Like 26 is D Wade. D Wade's had a better career than Kawhi to date.
right.
Will he by the end? I don't know.
Yeah,
But yeah, Kawhi is a stud, man. What a fucking all around player.
yeah.
That's just what I think of Kawhi. He does everything.
Yeah. Kawhi,
Such a good defender, and
yeah.
defense just isn't revered enough. But he's such a good defender.
Kawhi to me is like I love watching guys like Kawhi Leonard. I love watching guys like Klay Thompson. Those are all around basketball players to me. They're not they don't just give you one thing. They could win you a game a different way. That was what was so crazy about Michael Jordan. I mean, he would score 30, 35 points, but the dude was like he was insane on the defensive floor side too. Like Jordan was nuts. But like that's Michael Jordan. But I'm just saying, as far as a basketball player, man, like all around stuff, that's huge to me. That's why I liked Barkley a lot. Rebounding, shooting, blocks. I think Barkley is monster. But Kawhi, like what he has done with teams now, and he's clutch. He's starting to really develop more of a perimeter game too. It's insane. It's scary, is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if he starts hitting threes, it's a wrap. And that's why I think, that's why I'm not too mad with Giannis at 27. Even though he himself hasn't won anything, I think this will be an interesting year if they do bring the playoffs back to see how he performs in the playoffs with the team he has right now. Because with the team he has right now, there's no reason why they shouldn't make it to the finals,
Yeah.
right? So, but we'll talk about that.
Just a quick question there. Like, if let's just say they do bring it back and they bring some semblance of like playoffs back, right? I mean, are we going to be talking about this season in 5 years as like, yeah, but it was that year when the
Yeah.
world was no?
I know. I said I know. I was thinking the same thing.
Oh,
Like
I
an
just think I just think that's going to be a thing, dude. I just like
The
I don't
asterisk
know.
again.
Yeah, whether it's fair or not, it's just like I don't know. There's something to that.
I personally, I
Personally, I will not.
yeah, I personally think if they did bring it back, that's why LeBron is hoping so bad that they do. That dude's he's had time to rest now,
Yeah.
like, and it's only gonna favor the Lakers, dude, in my opinion. Because
Well, I think it's going to favor both LA teams, to be honest with you, because
right, yeah,
the Clippers had injuries too, so
correct.
it'll
I,
help them out as well.
I,
Um,
scary.
I put Kawhi higher. I mean, I take a look at a player like Karl Malone at 17. I get it. I know why people love him, but come on, man. You got GP, Kobe, and Shaq, and you can't beat the Pistons. Like, come on, bro. Do something else. I'm not putting him at 17.
Karl Malone?
Yeah, Karl Malone.
You're talking about. Well, that was when he wasn't even in his prime, dude. He was old.
Yeah, but still, it's Gary Payton, Kobe, and Shaq. Come on, man. You can't beat the Pistons. Get out of here.
That was a good
You're not 17.
That Pistons team was really good, man.
I know. I know.
I mean, they had some ballers.
So let's talk about the one that keeps coming up when this debate keeps coming up, and that's number 14 versus number 13. Good old teammates, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry.
Oh, there it is.
There it is. So how do we look at this?
I think this is a joke. This is me personally. You know why? Because I think KD is top 10. But that's just me. Just saying. I think KD is that good. I've always thought KD was that good. This is why I've always hated that motherfucker, because I think he is top 10 ever to play.
So do you knock? We'll go in the top 10 here in a second. I guess we can do it right now. So if you're going to put KD in the top 10, who do you knock out from your top 10? And in there, I believe, if I remember correctly, is Shaq, Kobe.
You know what's fucking shitty? Sorry about this. When you're scrolling on ESPN, it doesn't just like give you the full fucking list.
Right,
it doesn't. Off.
I know.
The fuck is that?
Here, I'll just pull it up. Oh,
I don't know if does Roger have the ESPN Plus? Is it an ESPN Plus article? Because that's what would happen.
I have it's all of them, but it's not. It doesn't give you a
one
link
straight line.
Yeah.
They do it by sections, and so you have to like go to another web page.
Oh.
Yeah.
ESPN, if you're listening to this that's just stupid as fuck, but figure it out.
All right, here we go. Wait, this I don't think this ain't it.
So they have
Shaq, I mean,
Kobe at 9. I wonder who 8 and 7 and
Steph versus Durant to me is really interesting.
ESPN top 74 players. What's up?
Where was Klay Thompson?
He wasn't on the list.
Really?
Yeah.
But Ray Allen was?
Yeah, Ray Allen was.
Okay.
Here it is. Shaq's number 10. So who are you taking out then, Jake? Shaq's number 10. Kobe's number 9. Duncan 8. 7 Larry Bird. 6 Wilt Chamberlain. 5 Magic. Bill Russell number 4. Kareem number 3. And then LeBron and Jordan. I can't put KD ahead of any of these guys, to be honest with you. I mean
I'm probably taking out Shaq, but that's just me. Shaq's probably
God, he was so dominant.
He was dominant because he'd catch, turn, and knock you out of the way and dunk. Like that was you call that basketball or whatever.
I mean, that's scoring points, right? That's what you want, right?
It was a joke.
Intimidate the shit out of the other center. Like I don't know.
I was a hater, I guess. Every time he would do it, it'd like turn. He'd take like 4 fucking. It was really hard to watch those games when Arvydas Sabonis was old and like watching him just like knock dudes out of the way, offensive foul, and just turn and like. I think Kevin Durant is maybe he's not top 10 yet. At the end of his career, he's going to be top 10 for sure.
Does he need to win one in Brooklyn?
He's going to have a tarnished career until he wins one on his own, dude, or in Brooklyn or whatever. In my opinion,
it's just Kobe 2.0, basically.
I don't know if it's Kobe 2.0. I don't even know if Kobe got as much shit. Like, you don't go and I don't know. It's just sports. But again, I'm a very competitive person. I just thought it just totally went against what your ultimate like goal is in a sport is to like be the best. You beat the best, not join them. But
yeah. What do you think, Noah? You put KD ahead of Steph, or do you like it at 14, 13?
I don't know. Pre-injury, if I'm like drafting one, like we were talking about before, it's hard to not go with Durant.
Yeah. If I'm drafting one, I'm going with Durant as well.
I think for me at times in the 17-18 years when he won both with the Dubs, I felt like he was surpassing LeBron as the best player alive.
Yeah.
And that conversation kind of went away. especially as he got hurt.
Yeah.
And LeBron is just not a human being and just like continues to not show any age. But I think Durant's more skilled. I mean, goddamn, the guy can hit a fucking jump shot from anywhere. He's a good rebounder. I think his defensive game has gotten so much better. I think that's maybe the part of his game that improved the most with the Warriors is his defensive side of the ball.
Right.
He's a good passer. He sees the floor. Like he's not a great ball handler, but he still handles. He's a fucking
Guy's 7
beast,
foot
man.
tall. Yeah.
He's 7 feet tall.
Where was Dirk Nowitzki? Because every time we talk about KD, I always think of Dirk. Like
Dirk is in there. He's in the high teens, I think.
Okay. But yeah, KD to
Yeah,
me.
that's a good question. Oh, there he is. 19.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say every time I think of KD or talk about, I always think of Dirk, and KD's just a extended version of Dirk.
Yeah, he's like a super Dirk.
And KD, dude, like you said, man, the thing I was most impressed about him was his defense. Like the dude was making some nasty blocks, and
yeah, totally.
Like, he could make. Dude, Kevin Durant is so good. That's why I fucking hated him so much when he bounced. Because
he's
I was
so
upset
sick.
because I'm a small town market team, whatever. And Seattle to OKC, I hate OKC because it should have been. I love Seattle. Like when they had a team, I love the rivalry. But I really thought Durant was always good enough to win, even if it was with Westbrook. They were so close. Like
I think they could have won it. I think the whole narrative of he needed to leave to win one is, I think that's bullshit. But
yeah.
But
so did I.
My team benefited from it, so whatever. For me.
I'm sure if he joined the Blazers and we would have won, I would have like, awesome, but he didn't join the Blazers that maybe we won 50 games. Like he argued like that team was already loaded, and that was like a good rivalry with LeBron. I was like super stoked about it because you guys beat Cavs beat you. It was gonna set up for like you guys are gonna meet again in the finals, and then here you go. Here comes like arguably the best player, if not the second best player in my opinion, to join you guys. And I was like, what the fuck? Like it was insane. It was like it was crazy. But
so I think even if we leave Curry there, I think we're all kind of in agreement. I think Curry and Durant, you can swap them any which way, and the argument could be there. But I think one of the reasons why you're going to put Curry ahead of Durant isn't necessarily because is he a better NBA player, but I think it has a lot to do with just his impact in the game, right?
Yeah.
So a player like Curry on a team like the Warriors with the teammates he had, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson,
I can't believe
Harrison Barnes
is on that list. That's a joke.
Yeah, it's interesting that he's on the list, but I guess again the question becomes like who are you going to take off, right? But anyway, like he has such a big impact on the game, right? I think
hard enough. I put fucking Klay over James Harden.
Yeah,
Klay might be the best pure shooter besides Ray Allen, like set shooter, and
the
guy plays crazy ass defense. Oh, when Curry or like when they were together, just Curry and him, when Curry wasn't playing well, Klay would fucking drop 40 or 50 to save a series, dude. The guy is fucking sick. Like
Klay, Game 6 Klay, man.
Klay
is nasty.
Yeah. I love Klay's the best. He's my favorite player out of all those guys.
I can't wait to see how this plays out, man. Like, I'm assuming the season's done, right? I mean, my rep sent me pictures of the stadium. They tore the stadium apart, by the way, for the renovation. So there's no more seats in the stadium. So
wait, at Oracle? Or
no,
sorry, not Oracle. Chase? What?
No, the Sun Stadium.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So they ripped all the seats out. They're already doing the renovations for next season. So they're already done. Like they're done. Even if they resume the year, all the games are going to be on the road. Like they have no seats at the stadium. So
I just suspect if the NBA gets going again, it's going to be you're going to have maybe 4 stadiums on the whole country. these teams play here, these teams, so they can try and contain it. But I don't even know how you do that because teams would have to stay in hotels, and we can get into that conversation another time or whatever. I know it's getting
Well,
later.
no, that makes sense because one of the locations is Disney World, right?
Okay.
They would reopen basically Disney World for the NBA and its family.
Okay.
And then the NBA families would be staying at Disney World. They would all get tested. The ones that test positive would be heading home. The ones that test negative, would be able to stay at Disney World.
Okay.
And they'd be able to go to the games. They'll put a stadium together at Disney World, so for them to play games. So that's one of the locations. The other location is Texas, at a university that's closed down right now. So they would, again, same thing. They would pick a campus, they would test the families or whatever, and then they would let them continue the season at the stadium that they chose, the university that they chose. But basically, they would just shut down, the whole campus besides to the NBA and its family.
Yeah. But then you have the argument of like Mr. Even Chuck Barkley said, like, you got to test all of the hotel, the people who are going to room service, getting your food. I mean, it's going to be all that shit. What are you going to do? Put them in a gigantic bubble? It's just like, I just
Right.
don't
They
know.
would have their own cooks, right? So everything would be there. So you test all the cooks, you test the staff that would be there.
Right.
Um, you know, and if you think about it, you open it up to what, 16 teams. You only take the essentials, right? You're not going to have the video guy. You're not going to have all those people, right? You're just going to have 12 players, 16 teams, right? So 16 teams. I mean, you're looking at what, maybe 300 people,
Right.
right? If you start out the whole NBA season, I mean, they could monitor 300 people. UFC did, right? There was 300 people at the UFC event.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
Yeah.
so, and yeah, we're struggling as a country to get these tests done. But when you have some dough like Rogan does, right, then you get your test results back in 15 minutes. So it's just a matter of how you're getting tested, for these results. So, yeah, okay. So let's hop into the top 10. Basically, we're looking at, with all due respect, I think it still makes sense to have the conversation. Are we good with the top 10? Shaq, Kobe, Duncan, Bird, Wilt, Magic, Bill, Kareem, and then the good old conversation that everyone's going to keep having, LeBron versus MJ.
I mean, that list, the top 10 you told me, those were it's funny you guys that they did this because my buddies and I were in a group chat and we were all saying, and it was kind of pretty much that list, except, of course, my buddy Ronnie, who he hates LeBron, but we were doing like by position, but it was still like you had like Magic at the 1, you had Jordan at the 2, and then he put Larry Bird in front of LeBron, which I was like, you're full of shit. But anyway, but dude, Larry Bird was so damn good anyway. But yeah, I agree with that list.
I think that's an interesting conversation too, because I think if you're going to put, it's funny because, I mean, let's break down this list, right? So let's go through some point guards. So basically, it's Magic. What are the point guards here? Magic.
The best point guards ever?
No, I'm saying on this list. So yeah, so I guess point guard wise, it would go Magic and then Curry, number 2. For me, that would be my 1-2 for point guards as well. Magic number 1, Curry number 2. What do you guys think?
I would
Got no problem with that.
I would probably agree. I think yeah, probably about that. That's what I was just gonna say though. And yes, rest in peace, Kobe. I love you, but like I think Curry I think Curry's changed the game, and he's won 3 titles now. 3.
Yeah. Well, if we're gonna do position, so you would put Curry. So if you're thinking Durant's out of the top 10, maybe you said like 11, right? For instance, or maybe swapping him with Shaq.
I'd swap him with Shaq. I'd even swap him with Kobe, but that's just me. So
Kobe would be number 11 for you?
Probably. I've never considered Kobe top 10.
Noah?
Whew, man, that's tough. I don't really have any issue with like from like 15 down, honestly. I actually think Malone's a little overrated here. I know we're
Yeah, I
backtracking
think
a
so
little
too.
bit,
No,
but
no, I hear you. I think so too.
He got ranked pretty high. That's crazy.
yeah, I think Barkley might have been better than Malone. I think KG might have even been better than Malone, but maybe not. I think Pippen might be a little low at 21. Pippen, maybe
Yeah,
it's recency bias just with like the last dance and whatnot. I think Pippen's awesome.
so did I.
Dude, the thing about Curry is like he's such a like truly a game changer. Like he changed the game.
Right.
Yeah.
In terms of being able to shoot from everywhere.
Mhm.
Um, so he's a single, he opens up so much space by himself, and he also handles. It's not just the fucking shooting. Like if all he could do was shoot, they would be able to defend against that. But because he's such a good passer and such a good ball handler and able to work off of the threat of his shot, he's unbelievable. I think when God, who was it? I guess when Clay went down last finals, um, kind of like going into the beginning of the 1920 season, right? So let's say in October or November or whenever, there was some like discussion of like, oh, like let's just turn the Warriors into the Rockets, and James Harden shoots 40 times a game. Let's have Steph do that. That's not who he is. That's just not his game, and that's also kind of like what makes him, I think, such a winning, like valuable player. Like, could he do that? Sure, but
Right.
that's not how he becomes so lethal. His lethalness is just the threat, not like necessarily having the ball in his hands all the time, but like you can't not know where he is, right? And you have two or two and a half or three defenders tracing him, even if that's not their guy at all times, and that's because they have to.
Right.
Well, that's the thing, right? When you mention playing within the game, Noah, like Curry gets his points in the structure of the game.
Yeah,
When Clay got 60, it was done in 3 quarters and nothing. Well, maybe a few of them was forced, but like, it all came in the natural flow of the game, you know.
yeah,
So the Warriors just play a different brand of basketball, which is why I think players like Harden and Russell Westbrook is going to be harder for them to win. Also, D'Antoni doesn't do him any favors either. We didn't really talk about that, but yeah, I guess Jake, I would agree. I do like Shaq in there. I might put Durant at 11, to be honest with you. Curry at 10, Shaq at 9. But yeah, I might put Kobe at 12. I don't know if he's in my top 10.
To me, the final thing is I've just seen how, like you said, the game has changed, and we can compare teams like generational and everything. But if you're telling me KD, Curry, and Clay versus Shaq and Kobe's team back then, like I'm taking the Warriors all day and twice on Sunday. They would fucking run the Lakers, in my opinion. But
They're not going to get bored, right? That's the thing. So a lot of people were like, "Oh, well, they had these off games." It's like, yeah, that's because they were just done by the third quarter.
mm-hmm.
You know.
I value KD and Curry, what they've brought to the game, more than I value Shaq. The reason why Kobe to me was so regarded as this great player and everything, like I'm not saying he was gift wrapped 3 championships, but he was very second fiddle. He had the third championship they won, he had some big games because he was finally coming up. But like Shaq was just a dominant player. But like we're talking guys that have changed the game. You have a KD, a guy who's almost 7 feet with a wingspan of fucking God knows what, who can shoot threes and is starting to play fucking crazy defense. It's too bad he got hurt. But then you have Curry, who's totally changed the game on shooting and dribble, like his fucking crafty, like Noah said. Like I just value KD and Curry so much more. But that's
I
just
think
they beat
we're
out
running.
LeBron, and they beat him to a pulp, dude. And
Yeah.
that's saying something to me. But whatever.
I think we agree that Magic's number 1, Curry is number 2 for point guards. If we take a look at shooting guards, though, it kind of gets interesting, right? Like Jordan number 1, who's 2 and who's number 3 on your guys' list for all-time shooting guards? Like, is it Kobe and then
I'm probably
Dwayne Wade?
I'm probably putting Kobe on second team. Like if we did a first team and a second team, Kobe's probably on my second team of shooting guards.
Who's on your third team for shooting guards?
Probably. Yeah, I mean, is it
Dwayne Wade?
That's what's crazy.
Allen Iverson, Dwayne Wade. Oh, Iverson was a point guard, right? Yeah, he was a point guard. Or was he a shooting guard? No, he was a shooting guard. Like Eric Snow was a point guard, I think, right? So
Iverson played all
a combo.
No. Iverson, dude, that guy shot like 40 fucking times a game, dude.
What about Reggie Miller?
See, that's what I was gonna say. Reggie Miller, he was pretty sick.
Yeah, I think he's ranked kind of low on this too. Reggie Miller is like number 40 something.
Reggie Miller was sick, dude, and we're about to get into it in the last dance. I guess Ray Allen is a shooting guard. We're about to get into it in the last dance, but dude, that fucking 98 Eastern Conference Finals comes down to the wire, man. They the Bulls are about to lose that game.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the Pacers kind of blow it, but
I was rooting so hard for the Pacers. I wanted the Pacers versus Utah so bad.
Well, I think that's the thing, right?
Reggie Miller was awesome, I think.
With Reggie, you could put the ball in his hand at the end of the game and be confident that he's not going to be afraid of the moment, right? So, unlike Harden, who's ranked ahead of him.
Bro, and James Harden had when they were playing you guys, I think in the second round, and it was when he had Dwight Howard, and he was going up. He was about to try and shoot a game winner, and he goes up and he passes it to Dwight Howard. And Howard's like, "What the?" And like throws it back to him, and then it was like they ran out of time, and I was like,
"Yeah, I remember that."
Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
that was in the Western Conference Finals, I believe.
So, the main point of conversation. I mean, it's before The Last Dance aired. If you ask me, who's a better NBA player? I don't know. I'm taking LeBron over Jordan. There's a lot of things that I learned in The Last Dance that I didn't know that actually upped my respect for the guy. I was 10 to 13, 14 when he was playing. So I guess age had a little bit to play with it in terms of me truly understanding the game and what he brought to it. But growing up with LeBron, I always thought he was a better player. Efficiency is important to me, and that's why I kind of put him ahead of Jordan. But at the end of the day, man, in terms of like getting your team up, being that inspiration, talking shit, who needs to be talked shit to, understanding people's mentality, being that motivating factor, there really is no one even close to touching what Jordan can do. Talent-wise on the court, though, that's when it becomes a little debatable, I think, between Jordan and LeBron.
I would totally agree with that. MJ knew, like you said, that's the thing about a real leader is you know who you can push.
Yeah.
You know who you can, what the limits you can kind of press on certain guys. And then he knew how to handle Dennis Rodman. He just knew what he had to do to get guys to get up to be their very best. And I loved, like you said, he started crying after it. He's like, let me just make this clear. I didn't ever push these guys to do anything that I didn't do. And you remember he got all teary-eyed because, dude, even Bobby Knight said about Jordan before he even became big, he's like, I would take that if we were in the trenches in a war. I'm taking that guy. He's like, that guy is going to be the greatest player of all time. That's what he said. Bob Knight said that about Jordan. I mean, it's Bob Knight, but Bobby Knight was a pretty fucking solid ass coach. And that was the year 80. Jordan got to scrimmage, or he got to try out or whatever on the Olympic team. in 86 or 87, and Bobby Knight was all about him, dude. He was like, if I'm in the trenches in warfare, I'm taking Michael Jordan. And that's why Michael Jordan is, to me, I believe he's still the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
LeBron's the most gifted, talented, fucking crazy athlete I've ever seen in my life in any sport. But
Yeah.
it's crazy, man. It's a crazy debate. But MJ, dude, was just a freak. He's just an icon, dude. He's an icon. Like so is LeBron, but like what he did for the NBA, dude, is just insane. And shoes and everything, you know.
Yeah, I mean, game changer, right? Like literal definition of a game changer.
World changer.
There's only a few people that I think you can point to that did that, and honestly, I think that's why at the end of his career, I don't think anybody's going to talk about, is Curry one of the top 3 NBA players of all time? I don't think that's going to be a thing. But if you want to argue, is Curry one of the top 3 NBA players who changed the game or had an impact on the game? Then I'd say, okay, you have an argument now. Because basically, to me, right now, honestly, it's Jordan, LeBron, Curry. Those are probably the only 3 players that you could point to that changed the game. Now, if you want to extend outside those 3, then I can say, okay, that's where you're going to bring in 2 players, in my opinion, and that's just because of they happen to have a rivalry at the same time, and talk about different schools, Michigan State, Indiana, and then in the NBA, Lakers, Boston. I mean, it's it doesn't get any bigger than that, right? So then outside of those 3, then to me comes into play, Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. But if you're talking top 3 impact players, I'm going Jordan, LeBron, and Curry.
Yeah, I agree.
What do you think, Noah?
Yeah, I think that's right.
What do you think about Jordan versus LeBron in terms of 1-2?
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm not even as a detriment, as a credit. I think it's a credit to LeBron that like that's the conversation. That's where we've gotten to with him as a basketball culture. I think maybe a couple years ago, even there was a little bit more of a, it was a little bit more open ended than, MJ, LeBron. MJ versus LeBron, maybe you could throw in a couple other players in that conversation. And now I think it's pretty universally considered that, like, maybe there's like 5 or 6 or maybe 7 or like guys that you can make an argument for, but most people are going to come down to those last 2. So I don't think that's a detriment to LeBron. I think it's a credit, and I still think MJ's the best of all time, and not just because he went 6-0 and in rings. Just think his, in terms of like overall greatness, I think that's just what it is. But goddamn, man, LeBron is fucking good. And
is there anything LeBron can do to put him in the number 1 slot, either being indefinite or at least in your opinion?
I don't know, man. That's a really good question, and I don't. It might not be fair to him, but I don't know. I really don't.
How many more years do you see LeBron playing? Noah, let's start with that.
Including this or not including this year?
Yeah, let's say this year's going to be. Let's say this is 1 year. How many more years besides this year do you see LeBron playing?
5.
5. That's a lot. That's a lot more than I thought you were going to say. Okay, so we're talking.
Dude, he treats his body so well. He's in tremendous shape. He's never had a major injury. He's old, but he's not that old. And he's fucking good, dude.
So Jordan has won 3 rings, 2 with the Heat, 1 with the Cavs.
LeBron.
Yeah,
LeBron. Sorry. He's going to be with the Lakers. Let's say he ends his career with the Lakers. does he win? Well, let's say if he wins an MVP and 2 rings, what does that do to his career?
I mean, it propels him in the same conversation for sure.
So you still think it's a comment? So if he wins 5 MVPs and 5 rings, like
Dude,
does that put him
to me,
at number one?
It's not math. It's not like you're, tacking up. It's not like you're not. There's no calculation. You're not assigning like mathematical value to certain awards and championships and scoring titles and defensive player of the year and rookie like that. To me, that's not what it is. It's something. It's more like intangible than that. And I think with MJ, I think there's a little bit of a quality of leadership that LeBron has in many regards, but maybe doesn't in terms of like knowing how to get the most out of his team. I also think that, and this is something that I've been listening to in terms of podcasts with Bill Simmons and other NBA guys, but like, I think there's a good case to be made that Jordan should have lost in a lot of those series in the 90s, and he never did. And I think there's also a really good case to be made that LeBron should have won a lot of the series that he lost. Particularly, I'm thinking 2011, Dallas, Miami. Miami was a more talented team.
They were the favorite.
They were the favorite. They're the more talented team. They were up 1-0. They were winning by a lot in game 2, and they blew it. And then Dallas won in 6. I loved that Dallas Dirk team. I really wanted them to win. I was super happy that when they did. But Miami should have won that game or won that series.
They lost the series. You're right. Game 2.
Yeah, they were up like 15 or something in the third, and then blew it.
Yeah.
So Jordan didn't really have one of those moments, I don't think. And and for LeBron, that happened. There's a couple other examples.
Well, he had that moment, but he never lost the series, right? So, for example, he had that moment.
Series.
No, like where I'm talking about Jordan, right?
Oh.
He had similar moments to where he blew a game, but it was never the game, or it never led to him losing a series.
Well, can I chime in?
Yeah, go ahead.
So Jordan, and you got to remember you can see it in the first episodes, and I remember I was such a little kid, but I remember I hardly could comprehend what the hell was going on, but I remember the Pistons they whooped his ass, and I was like 4, but he had to go through they just beat the shit out of it. Was just a different type of game. And the Pistons even said, like Chuck Daly said, anytime that dude gets the ball, you see it right here. Bill Laimbeer, Isaiah. I don't know if that's Buck Williams didn't play for them back then, but it was Laimbeer, Isaiah, and somebody else. But anytime he got the ball, dude, they just crushed him. But the only time he ever had the moment of losing a series was when he came back after playing baseball, and they lost to Penny Hardaway in the Eastern Conference
That's
Finals.
right, to the Magic. Yeah. He played 18 games, I think, right, that year?
Correct. So
before this playoffs.
Yeah, right. So that's the one little nick on him. He did lose a big series, the Eastern Conference Final. He struggled. He was tired, and he missed most of that season. So it's like, do you really count against him? But
I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
He didn't play for like a year and a half.
Right. So that leads me I was just curious. That goes to my other dude that I totally forgot about, and real quick was Akeem Olajuwon. Where was he in this?
I think he was number 12 or something.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, he's right there.
Olajuwon was like,
yeah, he's 12.
Yeah, number 12.
He was sick. Maybe the most underrated player ever.
Right. A lot of people put him in the top 10. Like Hakeem was sick.
I think
Dude.
there's a case to be made for Hakeem over Shaq. As much
Right.
as I think Shaq is
He had
good.
huge Shaq in that series, dude, in the finals. Oh my
Yeah.
God. And they have Shaq in the picture. Dude,
Yeah.
what he did to
But
Shaq was insane. Like,
But I guess just briefly back to the LeBron MJ thing. I think for everybody's going to define it by their own terms. Some people are just going to
Right.
be strictly,
Rings.
stats. Some people are
Right.
strictly going to be, well, LeBron's a better rebounder. He's a better passer. He's a better transition player. All which are probably true. I'm not going to even go there. But I think part of what being like the greatest, the best is about is like when you have the better team, you win. And MJ, I think that was the case pretty much every time. I think when he came back against Orlando, I still am willing to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that like him being out of shape and not having played in 18 months, and that Orlando team was nasty.
yeah.
I'm gonna I'll give him the benefit of the doubt there. With LeBron, there are a couple circumstances, a couple times when, even though he's the best player, even though he has the upper hand in terms of supporting cast, they lose, and to me that does count.
Right.
The 11 Mavericks series to me is super notable. Even the 14 Spurs series, like, so they should have lost to the Spurs in 13. That's the Ray Allen shot with like 4 seconds left, right? To
Right.
tie it in game 6, sends it to overtime. LeBron's great in OT and they win. And then they win game 7. LeBron's incredible. Spurs should have won that game and thereby the series. And then in 14, they rematch and the Spurs beat the crap out of them.
Right.
Like, even though they're the reigning champ, even though they have essentially the same squad 1 year removed, it's pretty much a rematch. From what I remember, identical
Kawhi's a
rosters.
lot.
Year,
Kawhi's
though,
a lot better.
it
Kawhi.
wasn't,
Yeah, that's fair.
it
That's
wasn't
fair.
why
He's
that
still
year.
on that team. He's still on the 13 team.
Well,
He
Dwayne
misses
Wade,
he misses a free throw, which is why they lose in the first series.
that's true. Dwayne Wade, though, that year, the
He's
third,
hurt. Yeah.
he was hurt. He only played like 48 games in that season, and he had injury issues in the playoffs, like
Yeah.
Dwayne Wade.
Yeah, that's true. That might not be a great example, but I still think there's something to that. I don't think Jordan ever kind of like got bowed out like that, right? Where he just gets the doors blown off.
It was
Um,
a solid series. That's the one that everybody was like, everybody, even me, I was just like, what's he doing? Like, even he's
The
like,
Dallas one, yeah. Yeah.
that's the one that killed me because if you look at it, people don't realize this though. The Heat against the OKC Oklahoma City Thunder, the Heat were not favored. They were actually underdogs in that series.
were they really?
They were Vegas underdogs. Mm-hmm.
That's surprising to me. I mean,
Right.
I kind of get it because OKC had such a nice run, but they had so much more collective experience, and
And the NBA is a game of matchups, right? So when
yeah,
they beat the Spurs, it was Vegas was like, oh, Oklahoma City is legit, right? And
right.
then all I thought of, and I was telling Jake this too, because I think, yeah, we were like, we were hanging out, and I was like, bro, throw the farm on the Miami Heat right now because they ain't ready. This is not the Western Conference Finals. This is the NBA Finals. It's a
Right. And
whole different beast.
the only reason why I remember that no is because I did bet on that series and OKC
Sure.
minus 180 and the Heat were plus 130. That was the only reason.
Oh yeah, no, I believe you. I'm a little surprised. I'm just surprised by that.
You're right though. They were favorites against Dallas. They lost that, and they were favorites actually in the rematch against the Spurs. They were favorites in that series, and they got wiped. But they were favorites against the Spurs the first time, and they somehow won. And then after that, going into even when Kevin Love, the first year Kyrie goes down, Love goes down, going into that series, they were not the favorites. And he was not a favorite since then. So the only two,
Yeah,
he's only been favorite twice. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but the one that
that's crazy.
the Dallas Mavs series that was,
So let's just quickly go through the LeBron finals. From what I remember, they get swept in, I want to say 07 by the Spurs when he's a
Huge
cap,
underdogs. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. They were
It's
big.
4-0 or 4-1.
4-0.
Okay. They get swept. That's
Right.
like his 4th year in the league, so it's impressive that they got there.
Right.
Then he goes to the Heat. It's 11. He's favored against the Mavs. They're favored against the Mavs. They lose.
Right.
12. They're underdogs against OKC, but they beat them and beat them handily.
Right.
I wanted the Thunder that series. That was actually a really fun series to watch from what I remember.
Right.
Okay, they're they're underdogs against the Thunder. They win 13. They gotta be favored.
Favorites.
Favorites against the Spurs.
Yep.
So they're favorites he was favorites 3 times then because he was favored again in 14, right?
Correct.
Okay. So favorites against the Spurs in 13, they win, but they shouldn't have won. Favorites against the Spurs in 14, they get crushed.
Right.
And that's kind of like, oh, damn, this Miami thing is over.
Right.
15 goes to Cleveland. Kevin Love and Kyrie get hurt. They still win 2 games, which is kind of insane.
And they were pretty big underdogs going into that. They weren't huge underdogs, but they were underdogs going into that series.
Yeah, I mean, well, his second and third best players were hurt.
They had a 2-1 lead in that series, which is
true. That's crazy. They lose 16. Probably there's no way they were definitely underdogs because the Warriors had won 73 regular season games.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean that's a really tough one for me, but and then 17-18 just Durant is just like 17-18 me watching Durant is just like, dude, this is the passing of the torch right here.
Yeah.
Of like the best player in the world, and I don't think that, to LeBron's credit again, I don't think that's not what's happened, and partially because of KD's injury, but like it's fucking insane, man. But again, there's like, even with the Jordan Pistons stuff, like his team wasn't quite there, I don't think, like to really kind of overtake that Eastern Conference challenger. Whereas for LeBron, there's a couple times when it's like, you're the better team, you got the supporting cast, you have the experience, this should be a win for you guys. And that's not what happens. And he's played a fuck ton of basketball, so it's not holding it against him. But like in terms of like number one greatest, I think that's what for me gives MJ the edge.
And that's what I believe too. I think a lot of people say, and I would agree with. Like I said, he was the favorites with the Mavs. They had no business his first finals. They beat the Pistons in 7. He went off in that game 7 to even get to play the Spurs. But yeah, that's the knock. It's when they were the favorites against the Spurs one year, and they got wiped 4-1, and then they were the favorites against that Dallas Mavs. For that Dallas Mavs team, they were special. They were fun to watch. I ain't gonna lie. They beat my Blazers in 6, and that was when Brandon Roy came back. I remember that like the back of my head.
Damn, Brandon Roy was nasty when he was healthy. He was actually really fun to watch.
Which team do you guys want to see a last dance on? And which LeBron team would you want? For me, it's the Miami Heat squad that lost to the Spurs. I want to see a last dance on that team. And then this last one would be on the Patriots when they lost to the Titans.
Yeah.
Those would be my last 2 last dance teams I would like to see. Only because we already know one doesn't exist for the Warriors. So,
yeah, mine would be probably the Lakers of when Shaq and the year they lost to the Detroit Pistons when they had Karl Malone and Gary. I would have really loved to see that one, just because that thing blew up after that. Like Shaq goes, Phil Jackson's out. It's like, get the fuck out of here, Kobe this, Kobe that. That was interesting. I really would have liked to seen that one. The LeBron team, yeah, maybe the Spurs. I would probably though. it'd have been interesting to see the last year of it when he was with the Cavs and that whole when J.R. Smith fucked up game 1 and like that whole thing and like just to see it would have been interesting to see that one too because they were a 4 seed that year.
Yeah.
But
I might even say for the LeBron thing, his first tenure with the Cavs, they lose 0-9, I believe, in the Eastern Conference Finals to Orlando, who then lose to the Lakers in the finals, and then that's
when he walks
09?
off. That's when he walks off, takes his jersey off, right?
That sounds right. Is that 09? No, that couldn't be.
No, that was
Must
like
have been 10.
I just know that wasn't the year he was leaving because the next year they played the Boston Celtics and then he was like done.
Oh, that's right. That's when he took the jersey off. Was against
That's
the
when he
Celtics.
took it off. So what year was that? 10?
Yeah,
It
I
must
think
have been 10.
yeah.
Okay. So that year. So his first stint with the Cavs, 2010. It's his last year, and then he goes to the Heat, and I just think there's a lot there. Like,
Yeah.
that's his first real free agency, right?
Right.
I just think that would be super fascinating. Like, there's a lot there.
Mm-hmm. Like what led
2010. So he left the Cavs first in 2010.
Right.
Yeah.
What led him up to the whole goofy decision, but then his friend, not even a friendship, his business strain with the douchebag. I hate him, Dan Gilbert or whatever.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you get all that in the story too. Yeah, that would be a good one.
Yeah.
So.
All right, fellas, that was pretty good. I think we should call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Save a lot of that for next time, Raj.
Yeah, well, I'll just add this to the next one.
Push it down.
All right, cool. For sure. Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure, fellas. It takes a couple minutes for listening to low, but I'll go ahead and get it up on YouTube.
All right, cool. All right, guys. Well, you guys have a good night. Appreciate the talk.
You as well, man.
All right, see you guys soon.
All right, guys. Peace.
Bye.